So we'll try to know something about education first. According to the real pioneers who taught us what education is, and about how the educational centers worked in the past, how they are working in the present, and how they are going to work in the future. And also something about the plan of the masters of wisdom that they have ready before them, which they have already put before us 1 century ago. And the methods they observe when they try to externalize the plan. The word education is used in many ways nowadays. In India, we have the following terms as synonyms carrying the same meaning. In India, they use so many terms as synonyms. They say, my boy is having his education in this school. One says, my boy is conducting his studies in this school. And he says, my boy is reading in this school. My boy is receiving his teaching in this school. My boy is learning his studies in this school. My boy is undergoing his courses in the university. Yes. But in fact, the word education stands away and apart all the other terms. There are two different ways of understanding what education is. Since many centuries, there are teachers who belong to the two different schools, and parents who treat their children according to the two different schools. And two categories of children, one receiving from the parents of the first category and the others receiving from the parents of the second category. We'll see how it differs. They say, my boy is studying medicine or engineering, chemistry, any one of these sciences, or arts, or what they call humanities. This is the one school of thought. The student of medicine is given information in the name of education, and the information that is available up to date will be poured into the head of the student through the ears with the help of two fine funnels which we call the voices of the professors. And the result is, a student of medicine 10 years ago was fortunate enough to have less number of facts and less quantity of information than the student who is receiving in 1982. If you take a student of medicine in 1992, there will be at least 10,000 books more printed and published, and 10 new branches of medicinal science which will be expected of the student. Unless the student receives that part of the information also along with the previous part, he is not recognized as a student having a degree or diploma in medicine. Same thing with the other branches also. With the due respect to the scientists of education of the present day, on the academic lines and the university lines. The word education is used as a synonym for information. And common sense tells us that the student can get the information by himself and for himself when we make the information available to him easily. The only thing we have to do is to make a good library available to the student, along with a person who directs him properly into his own books. This part includes a portion of real education. So to say, good libraries well arranged according to the branches of learning, and also good arrangement through radio, TV and VD will provide the student better than enforcing information in the classes by the professors to the student. And luckily, this change has started and gradually it is taking place. Especially during the last 20 years, many of the big institutions began to believe in providing the library and facilities to the students than to pour information into the ears of the student. That is one thing. Another thing is what we call discipline. In the past, we had many fantastic ideas about discipline, so that the child had to live in constant fear of the parent, and the student had to live in a constant scare and fear of the teacher. It resulted in mutilating the aura of the student, and the capacity to receive and respond is made less and less. And after the student has finished his education, he is found only a reflecting machine and not a shining gem. Instead of a source of illumination, the student was manufactured as a mirror. And that was due to the fantastic ideas about discipline. Discipline was considered to be physical and manual, and it was rather veterinary in its nature. And gradually the concept of discipline is changed during the past 30 years. And the result is we have an equally fantastic idea of discipline which has results that are worse still. Now we began to believe in the independence of the student. Before we are mature to know what independence is, as a result, the immature idea of independence led us into lawlessness in the name of independence. Lawlessness is different from independence. The first being the negative activity of allowing one to expand, while the second one, discipline, is the positive activity of allowing the boy to expand. So we have two fantastic ideas about discipline. One, the false idea or the physical idea of discipline in the past, that is to enforce the child into the methods required by us, and the other is allowing the boy to expand like a stream of water without the two banks for a river. The result is the total wastage of the water which we call life. So we expect a third concept which may be a bit nearer to practicality and truth. If we expect discipline as an independent entity, it is thoroughly unpsychological and negative in its value. Because if you want to keep your boy under discipline without having a plan for him, so that you may think that you apply the boy to a plan after he is disciplined, it amounts to the act of killing the boy intellectually. It is as good as asking a child not to breathe in oxygen until the chemistry of oxygen is taught to the child. Because there will be no necessity for the boy to breathe afterwards, he will not be there. The natural course is to allow the boy to respire oxygen, and in course of time know what oxygen is and how it is useful. First, let him enjoy the usefulness of what he does, and then let him learn about the usefulness of what he does. We are badly in need of such a method of education, which in fact we are not at all having in any institution yet. The present universities of any country, including the most advanced nations and countries, do not show the required degree of evolution enough to educate the future children in the required direction. They educate the boy in every subject except himself. That is, we start learning and teaching alphabet from back and proceed backwards. We learn the last syllable alphabet first, and we try to learn up to A. We teach medicine, we teach chemistry, we teach physics, we teach space science, and we teach psychology also, which is just the nearest the required spot of education. But yet, we are not evolved enough to know that we have to educate about ourselves and educate the student about himself, his own mechanism, the physical machine, the physiological machine of functions, the mental mechanism, the psychic forces that are at work in him, the psychological forces, and the counterparts of the machine which we call intelligence. We are not in the habit of learning these things and teaching these things till today. At best, we have our own ideas and beliefs about these machines, and we grow along with these ideas, and we implement our own ideas upon our own machine by using not at all a scientific method, but what we call the trial and error method. We do something wrong and receive the injury physically or mentally, and sometimes learn by experience. And by the time we gain the real education through experience, we have this machine spoiled beyond the possibility of repair. And when we are in a position to use the machine properly, we have a spoiled machine with us. And unfortunately, it cannot be replaced by us. And the parts of the machine cannot be replaced. Every part of the machine is an imported machine. It is imported from a foreign land which we do not know yet. and we have no spares to replace. And as a result, we put up with the dirty machine injured many times and live life as a duration with pains instead of enjoying life and tasting the real sweetness of life. So to say, we as parents and grandparents demand a science which makes us know of the workings of the machine which we call our constitution. You know full well that the present science of medicine has miserably failed to teach us about this machine because it is too primitive and paleolithic to teach us anything about this machine. It teaches us about the anatomy of this machine, about the structural detail of this machine, which means only 1/100th part of what we have to know about this machine. Is it enough if I know about every part of my motor car? Not at all. I have to know the mutual relationship of the various parts. Not only the structures of the nuts and bolts and the metallic parts, but also of the functions they are expected to do, and the relationship between the parts and the petroleum we use in the name of intelligence. What is the force that is making us move? And what is it that we call intelligence? And how to steer intelligence towards the force that is moving our body, so that the force conducts the various parts of the body to perform their functions. We are sure that the present medical science with all its developed branches is a miserable failure to teach this. It is a direct proof that we, the students of the various branches of study, after receiving our education and getting our degrees and diplomas, we misbehave with ourselves and with others. We misbehave with our activity and our profession, and we misbehave with money and power. And that itself is a direct proof that what we have received is not at all the education of the machine. We tried with what we call the political science. For a century or even more, it proved a miserable failure till today. It has driven us into wars and mass-scale destruction, a suicide on a large global scale. And we find that no creature on earth except the human creature has committed such a large-scale suicide. Still, we are not ashamed to feel that we are educated. And we want an education which makes us use the machine of man in a proper way. Then only the sciences we learn will be of some significance and some use. Otherwise, all the advanced technology which we have achieved and learned till today will be like a weapon in the hand of an idiot. That is what the previous decades proved. And we want real education, and the meaning of the word education should be the education of the machine of man. We are badly in need of a new science which we call the science of man. And we are sure that no university is evolved enough to give us this subject till today. And the need is there. The need is felt sharply because of the many political and social faults and blunders committed by the human being on this globe. We tried with what we call religion for some centuries, and it is also a miserable failure. We had no success when we tried with these three entities. And now we are very busy in building up a new temple. That is the temple of money and commercialization of values. It has proved worse than the other three. And the result is utter poverty even in plenty. It is quite natural that the countries that are poor, like India and Africa, are suffering. But it is something strange to notice when we began to construct this new temple that the most advanced sectors of humanity, the United States of America and the Russian Republic, are suffering from as much poverty as the poor countries are suffering. This is not a poverty for food or clothing or housing, which could be very easily rectified, but this is a poverty which it is very, very difficult to rectify. This is what we can call the poverty of behavior, poverty of morality, individual morality, social morality, national morality, and international morality. So, we have to search for a university or a center of learning which gives us the science of yourself and myself. Those whom we call the masters of wisdom, they are adepts in this science. The science which is quite new to us and which is yet to come has been the science of the oldest nations on this earth. And it existed through ages and ages, many times forgotten and many times recollected by the mankind. In that sense, we expect education in the new age. Textbooks we don't want from the experts, because we ourselves can purchase and read and know what they contain, and rather we ourselves